Hey, and welcome to another segment of Lineage Lessons. Today we're in my dining room. Dorielle was like, hey, how about we have brunch? And I was like, how about I cook? So
It's so good.
I wanted to cook for my daughter. And I'm used to cooking for like 6 people in a house. So you came over and was like, why is there so much food? So I'm still getting used to just making smaller portions. But I just wanted to have you over. Obviously we're gonna do some talking, but as she unpacks this homemade biscuit, I do a little something. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I wanted to. Part of the way that we talked last time, right, about definitions of motherhood and all those other things. Part of what I really wanted was to be a mom that cooked. My godmother, who is my self-appointed godmother, Meredith's mother, one of my oldest and dearest friends, her mom could throw down. And I just valued what food did for the family and bringing community. When she passed, she's now resting in power. She gave me some of those recipes, and I just really valued that. So it does my heart good to cook for my offspring. I don't do it frequently, but when I do it, I just did some biscuits from scratch, a little homemade turkey sausage, things that I do. But anyway, so now that we're full and tired, right? Dorielle doesn't eat anything actually. So the fact that
to clarify what she means by that, I am a pescatarian. And I operate in a vegan realm sometimes. Like, for example, my breakfast yesterday was hash browns, vegan eggs, the Just Eggs brand, and vegan sausage. And there was no butter involved in the making of that dish. However, my mother here puts eggs with butter. She cooks her eggs with butter. I
scramble my eggs in butter because olive oil doesn't bring the same taste.
Nor the fluffiness, as you can see by my face.
Listen, these biscuits.
And the biscuits had butter. And she did make turkey sausage. I have not eaten turkey sausage since the last time that I saw her on vacation, where I ate turkey every day as my cheat day. If it's not a cheat day, if you're eating it every day. Therefore, I have been a pescatarian since then.
No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking the sausage was also homemade and it was good. So that to say, the shit is delicious, don't get me wrong. But yes, I don't typically indulge in as much butter.
What's really funny is this is the healthiest I've ever cooked, right? So instead of buying packaged turkey sausage, I buy ground turkey, and so then I can control sodium and fat and all those other things. I make the biscuits as opposed to using a Bisquick or whatever. I think there's a Krusteaz or whatever. I make everything from scratch. And so I feel like in my own world, this is the healthier of the options that we could be. Definitely from when you grew up, when I was, I was still cooking, but I was throwing everything unhealthy in there.
There was also cheese eggs back then. And bacon, a lot of bacon and sausage, and butter, biscuits.
Yeah, I will say that your older brother loves cheese, and to have an egg without a cheese on it was just not something that we had ever heard of. But your younger brother hates cheese on his eggs, so it's been an interesting journey. But trying to do less cheese, right, in general. So I think it just really fits in with some of the things that we want to talk about today, like how things change and some of the things that we had to release and shift. Certainly both in our relationship and in other relationships. In our last session, in case you haven't had a chance to see it, go and check that out. We talked about our definitions of motherhood and being a daughter.
Absolutely.
And I thought that was so rich because as you were sharing what being a daughter was, you were also like, I'm sickened by having to take on this responsibility.
Yeah, it was a lot. But I do agree that is a beautiful segue to think about the transitions that we had to make to get to this point.
Yeah.
It's funny to think about food as a cultural bridge in that way.
Absolutely.
Think about, because I do remember in the time period when you and I weren't talking, when we came back around, we were both kind of doing like a pescatarian diet.
Correct.
And my mom was like, oh yeah, like I'm walking every day now, and I'm watching my figure, you know, all of these things. And it was very much in alignment with like, you know, what I was doing. I know that you still eat chicken and everything like that, as you should, but I know it was like not doing a fried chicken.
Correct.
And I think you weren't doing bread anymore, like
unless I make it.
Right. Which is cool because, yeah, bread was like our comfort food for a long time.
Still is.
And so I think the topic for today, to be really intentional, is what did we have to release or evolve away from or into to re-strengthen our relationship as mother and daughter. And this is a very rich topic to discuss after eating such delicious food. Maybe we should have eaten after. But that's called authenticity. Or I see the real us.
Yeah, plates are still on the table.
Right, I'm going to eat, so I'm still,
right. No, it's still happening. I also made an all-fruit compote.
Yeah.
So if we talk about like food as that bridge, because I'm trying to really eat healthier all around. Like if I'm gonna eat something, if I make it from home, I can control sugar and all those other things. And so there was a time in our relationship where Dorielle and I just were not talking at all. Like there was no engagement. And I had to reflect. While I was in it was not the time for reflecting. So let me just say, this is post-reconciliation. But there was a time also in my life when I wasn't talking to my mom. And I had to reflect on what were those pieces and how that must have been pretty painful for her too. And so these are cycles, right? These are lineage lessons. So I would start with one of the things, and I think probably in future sessions, we'll really talk about the concrete of how it really came back. Because I know people are like, so what happened and how did you get back to it? But one of the concrete things that I continue to release is the necessity to over-mother you as a grown woman. I think it was easy for me to let the boys go because they're boys. And I was like, you're grown now, right? And it was almost like, you should be hurrying up and get grown. Like, what's happening? Why is it taking you so long to be grown? But for my daughter, I wanted to continue the relationship that I felt like we started when you were in like 11th grade and where we were like tight. And then all through Spelman, when you were away for college, I was super proud that I would just pop up in Atlanta and go visit her and visit with the intention of just spoiling her, right? Like, hey, I'm there. Let's just go eat. Let's go shopping. Do you need anything? Like, I wanted to be the mom who would, I don't know, support you like that. And then the surprise visits home because she was always home. There was a lot of direct flights from Southwest, taught you how to use those points. We would be surprising the family. What? Dorielle's here? Oh no. So part of that was me demonstrating support, but also part of it was me like trying to be this mom for you to like still meet those needs, take care of things. It's really hard when your daughter moves away and then starts to be really super independent. And I wasn't necessarily ready.
So we're talking about the time period of like college?
No, I was just saying one of the things I had to release is trying to control. Because you are truly who you are. Yeah.
I think that reminds me of detachment. But instead of commenting on what you're saying, I think I will share from my perspective. And then we'll like mix it, because I also don't want to get stuck on responding to what you're saying because that's its own conversation. And I really do appreciate the release of control. I think for me, it looked like... Oh, yeah, right. Delicious. I think for me, it looked like what I call an ego death.
Oh, wow.
I think that honestly, in the time period where we weren't talking, I was actually coming back from Spelman.
Mm-hmm.
And so to your point, when I was at Spelman, I feel like we were fine.
Mm-hmm.
And like one of the surprises was after I had gotten arrested for stealing from Walmart. And that's...
Oh, so you just letting it all out. Let me get my mic.
Right.
I didn't know we was letting it all out. I mean, it's just, okay.
It's the tell all. Like,
okay, let's tell it all.
It's off my record now. I mean, it's just what it is. I do what I did. And
was it at Target? Was it Walmart?
No, it was Walmart.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was too. And me and my former best friend at the time. And I remember that you came and you surprised me. And I was like, oh my God, this mom is so sweet. Like, you love me. Like, it was a whole thing. It was
God is amazing, right? I didn't want her to know I was coming.
And you didn't know that I got
And I didn't know that you had been arrested. And so...
She was there like the next day. I'm not being fucking funny.
Because they took your phone. And so I was...
I'm sorry, this is good.
It was amazing because I guess, let's say that happened like on a Friday. You had to do something. They took your phone. I remember, so you were on your laptop trying to communicate with Victoria, who is one of my good friends, and she lives in Atlanta, because Victoria told you she was coming to pick you up. Because Spelman has a gate and you can't get in.
Yeah.
So you were outside waiting for who you thought was Victoria or her husband. And I rolled up in the SUV like, what? And Dorielle...
I started crying.
Bust out crying.
Immediately, I was...
on the floor, laid out, prostrate, just like, it was just full on cry. And check this, I didn't know why she was crying.
She thought I just was so excited.
I was like, oh my gosh, she's so happy to see me. This is so amazing. Look at my daughter crying. Me too, daughter. I love you too. And she's just like, oh, I'm so... And I was like, it's so good to see you.
I felt like God was literally like, girl, why was you stealing when you could ask your mom? But
factual.
I feel like I was always asking her for things, and that kind of relates back to the ego death, is wanting to be my own person, right? When I went to Spelman, I'm studying psychology, so I'm learning about family trauma and where people was fucking me up at, and I was mad. So I came home thinking I knew, because I go to Spelman now, I know stuff, right?
These are truthful things. Thank you, Lord.
Yes. So I came home. And I was trying to therapize everybody, and it was not a conducive environment. And then, of course, we'll go into later episodes of just like the time period of being at my great-grandmother's house and taking care of her. And my mom was the head of like that situation, and that was its own issue, right? So due to that, we were at odds. And there was a lack of there was a lack of trust from things that were coming up from my childhood, and all of these things resulted in me just wanting to be in my hurt and wanting to know that I was smart. And so if I'm right and I'm hurt and everybody's toxic, everybody get the fuck away from me and let me heal, right? And so I honestly went to... I think that went on, I don't know, maybe like 2 years. I'm like, I didn't talk to you for a minute.
I thought it was 1.5 years, but it could have been 2 years because there were little interspersed.
Like we seen each other.
Yes, interspersed within that was the fake, right? Was the like Thanksgiving, I'm gonna come over and be like Thanksgiving, and then I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna stay here very long,
And
but I'm gonna make a point. Well, it was only like 2 Thanksgivings, and at both cases it was like.
There's definitely a couple times where I did not come around.
You missed a Mother's Day.
I
definitely did remember that. Sorry. Yeah. I was like, oh, she can't come for Mother's Day.
No, that was intense.
Oh,
Damn. Yeah. Fuck.
With the whole other family, entire family. And then is Dorielle coming? And I'm like, I haven't heard from her. And so...
She would be so mad, but I wouldn't know until my siblings or my dad told me.
Yeah.
And...
Because what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm not talking to you...
Mother's Day comes every year. You know when it was.
I did know, and I was not coming to participate in Mother's Day at that time. But then,
at that same time, she participated in Mother's Day with other mothers.
My godmother and Julian's mom.
Yeah, and so I was like,
And I was definitely like, shrug. It was a rough.
It was shrug. It was giving shrug.
But it was giving shrug because I felt that the things that we needed to fix, I didn't know how. And again, with the ego of like, I'm right. And I have to sit. If I'm not right, then I'm wrong. So if I'm wrong, then I need to go apologize. Like that requires me to surrender and to dissolve the ego and being attached to wanting to be right. And that was not the answer. Mind you, life was okay. It wasn't my best. I mean, I think people have to understand, like, unless your mom is like hella toxic, right? Like, just because there's a lot of physically abusive and like, you know, there's a lot of things, right? Unless your mom is like dead ass toxic as fuck, you as a woman identifying individual not being in a relationship with your mother is going to bring its own issues. And I wanted to feel that I didn't want to be just like her. I was
remember that.
I was so against it because I was just like, Mom, you have some issues. Like, you have a lot of things that you need to fix.
Yep.
And I'm just like you. So now I need to separate from these things so I can figure out who I am in that. And it built a whole profile where I was like going rogue. I was like a rogue agent. Like, you know, like in the movies where they're like, oh my God. And they're like, I made you. They're like, I can make myself, right? So I'm doing the whole thing.
Entitlement.
Okay, that could be a verbiage. I'm open. I'm not opposed.
Because throughout it all, though, you also always had the, shall we say, entitlement of knowing that you had this safety net. And
which
so
was you.
Yes. So you went rogue, but if something really was going to jump off, how rogue were you?
Essentially, I would consider it rebellion.
Yeah, that's what I would call it.
Rogue was the silent treatment of sorts. I think that I wanted my presence to be felt.
Yes.
And I wanted my lack
or your lack of presence.
I wanted people
it was felt.
Notice. I wanted people to notice. And I think that pros and cons. So let's fast forward to how we got here.
Okay.
I went to do so ayahuasca is a plant medicine. It's indigenous to South America. And it's used to, it's like an altered state of consciousness. It's a ritualistic process, right? I'm not going to go into the full details of ayahuasca. Go research it and go research it from the indigenous lens of holistic health and not the white people way. Read a book about it. That's what I did. Either way, go do your own research, right? So I went and did this with a group of Black people. It was led by a woman named Adorable. I don't know why I name dropped. I just think her name is fire. She has practiced and used this medicine for a long time. She's also traveled to South America to learn from indigenous cultures that use this as a healing medicine, right? So I went, it was a weekend. I did my big one. It was very beautiful. It was very healing, very therapeutic, etc., right? I came back. My car, I got into like a small car accident. It was nothing crazy. I literally just, my door wasn't working anymore. So I had to like go through this whole process where I wasn't working. And I was heavily like just in prayer and like very protective of my energy at the time. And I think this had to be 2 years ago now. Yeah. Because I just finished my journal on August, that I had started the day before I went on the retreat. So I remember just like it clicked to me. Well, it actually started during the ceremony. I think I had a like some sort of realization about the fact that like my mom's journey is her own and it's linked to things that have nothing to do with me. Like certain shit that I'm experiencing or trauma that came to me had nothing to do with me nor her. You know, that's why it's a generational curse. there's things that my great-grandmother experienced that also created trauma within my mother and came into me. And so we're actually suffering from the same thing, and it's not personal. And that was very, very therapeutic for me to understand, like, the depersonalizing of it. I'm like, oh my God, my mom has hurt me. But I'm like, well, my mom was hurt. And what my grandmother can't see, and my like, you know, it's the cycles that repeat, right? So I remember one day I called my mom, and this is where we get back to the ego death, is that I was broke as fuck, right? Because I wasn't working because the car had got hit. And I also, for me, ayahuasca was like a cleanse. There was a lot of things that I was holding on to that I had to let go and release, right? That's the point of it being also like a ritual in that space. And so at this time, I was clearing out anything that did not serve me. And one of those things is having an ego. And for the purpose of this conversation, I would define ego as an attachment to your sense of self that does not have internal validation. So for me, ego looks like being attached to the need to be right. What does that mean? That's AI. That's not a real concept. Ego in this also means attachment to financial liberation, right? I wanted to have my own money. I don't need my mama, whatever, right? Ego looks like attachment to knowing how to provide for myself outside of my parental structure. And so that's what looks like rebellion, right? I'm like, I am my own person. I can do my own thing. I know I don't need the lineage lessons, right? But ayahuasca specifically, it strips you of that. And it's really just the goal is to get closer to God. And God essentially strips you of that. Because when you ain't nothing more raw than whichever you believe, sitting in your prayer closet or your meditative stance or on a walk, whatever it is, and having God look at you like, girl, you're tweaking right now. Like, you really need to get this shit together. That's essentially what God said to me for the purpose of this conversation, was just like, you're tweaking. You need to go build that relationship back with your mom and see her as a person and not just as your mother. And release the pain. Like, you're holding on to shit that doesn't serve you that you could just talk about. Or you could just, like, your mom was not intending to hurt you in that way. And so I really just had to, like, release a lot. And so I called her and I was like, hey, Mom, I know we haven't talked. I'm shit broke. I'm running away from trying to go back, because that's what I was. I didn't want to go become a teacher. Yes. I was like, I'm not an educator. I'm not less like my mom.
They want me to be like you. That's really the problem.
Yeah, and I was like,
no, they just want you to be on time. That's not it. They just want you to show up.
And that was
wanted you to be on time, though. Okay.
I think that's a difference. I think that people do have a certain expectation of who I am because of my mother. And that's just truth. Like, that's just what happens when people see me. I also look like her. I'm not her. And that's just period. Now I know that, not from an egotistical stance, but of a way of valuing my own self-worth and my own identity. However, at the time, it was an ego where I need to separate myself from the whole, if you will. And so with that, called her, broke down. I was like, we haven't talked. We should rebuild. Not only that, I am shit broke. And
wait, not only that, though.
Because I was like, Mom, you know I wouldn't call you and ask you if I didn't need it, because I've been avoiding asking you for shit. I've been getting it out the mud, which was a terrible financial decision, by the way. Kids, don't do that. Like, just ask your mom for help. Like, the debt doesn't go away, like, after you go back from rebelling. Anyways, and you were like, oh my God, like, it's been on my heart for us to reconnect. She was super open. She honestly really wasn't an asshole about it. I think so much time
I got off the phone.
Right, which is not my business. She kept it cute. She kept it light. And I think at that point, that was already, that was after we went to therapy? Or was that before we tried to go to therapy as a group?
I do not remember.
Yeah.
But I do remember the phone call. And I remember, it caught me off guard.
Okay.
I look at my phone, Dorielle Ard.
Never talked about it from your perspective. What happened?
Because I hadn't heard from you. You hadn't called me in years. I'm going to pass the compo.
Yeah, sorry. This is juicy. I got to have a snack.
So I got off the phone and was like, what the fuck? Because you were really being humble. Like, okay, I would not have called you. You know I didn't want to call you. But check this, though, yo. So someone hasn't spoken to you that you absolutely love, right? And that you've demonstrated that you love. And there are some things going on. and maybe you haven't had a conversation about that, but there's love there. And then they're saying, okay, I really didn't want to call you, but I'm going to call you. But I didn't want to, and you know I wouldn't, but I am, because the need is great. But I don't really want to be talking to you, but I'm going to, like, it's disrespectful. And so I was like, yeah. And so